Hello and welcome to Conscious Miami. This podcast is part of our mission to guide you on your spiritual journey. Whether you are going through a spiritual awakening, a journey through the dark night of the soul, or just your ongoing commitment to your spiritual growth and discovery, that is what we are here to facilitate. Also, to facilitate authentic connections between spiritually minded people across the United States and the world, starting right here in our beautiful home city of Miami, Florida. And I am Seth Cheripak, also known as the Red Neo, a natural law shaman practicing here in Miami. And I'm here with my lovely co-host, Eric Kramer, who is going to introduce herself and the theme of today's show.
Hello, everybody, whether you're in Miami or tuning in from somewhere else. It is a lovely day here with the sunshine. I was trying my best to stay out there, but sometimes we got to work, right? My name is Air. I'm a psychotherapy NCS, and I am a lifelong learner of spirituality and growth and healing. Today, we're going to get into something a little bit controversial, but it is what it is, and talk about manifestation, what the gurus, the psychics, the mediums, the ultimate people may not be telling you, the secrets. So right from the start, I believe that you are looking at the book The Secret, Seth.
I'm actually looking at the book that inspired the movie The Secret, which is called The Science of Getting Rich. I have it in a volume called The Science of Success. It's by a man named Wallace Wattles, who wrote it in the early 19th century. In my opinion, this is the most brilliant personal growth writer, just because of the way he communicates such complicated language and such complicated ideas in simple language. But this was the inspiration for The Secret. She talks about it in the beginning and in her interviews. What I think is really interesting about this guy's work is that chapters 1 through 10 cover all the things they've talked about in The Secret: gratitude, your feeling, being in sync with the thing that you want, visualization, thinking about it, doing the breath work and the meditation. None of them that I know of, unless there's someone I haven't heard of out there, none of them are talking about what he talks about in chapters 11 through 16, which is the missing link that I want to talk about today. And I know you also have some stuff that you think that they're missing.
That's a lot of chapters. That's like is that half the book? Or
yeah, but the chapters aren't that long. They're like 5-6 minutes long, and they're very easy listening.
Okay, so you're gonna have to like lend me your copy. That's still a lot of chapters. I'm not gonna get over that. I feel like there's so many different things when it comes to manifestation that people get frustrated with, especially the concept of time itself and how they're not manifesting quickly, or it seems like they're putting in all this effort and all this energy into manifesting or trying to attract their goal. We have this kind of similar opinion about time, but straight to, do you even believe in time?
No, it's not. I mean, I believe in it as a useful fiction, which means it's something that doesn't represent something that's ontologically real, but it's useful, right? That's what I think it is. And I can get into the other stuff about where time came from and how new the concept is and what it's actually done to the human psyche. But I want to hear a little bit more about what you're bringing time, because I think you're going to talk about deadlines.
Yeah, deadlines. So I recently was talking to somebody about like the 72-hour rule. And this goes back to like the resurrection or a lot of other mythologies that go based off of 3 days or 72 hours to like get whatever you're trying to attract. But I feel like anytime we really put deadlines on our manifestations, we're kind of putting the brakes on it. We're like, if you don't adhere to me, if you don't meet this deadline, then automatically like they get frustrated, they block the energy, and then they're like, I don't even believe anymore in manifestation. So
yeah, that makes me think. That makes me think of a lot of things. I didn't hear that last thing you said.
You would probably say that deadlines are important because you're in your masculine energy.
Well, they're important for establishing and building trust with people. If I tell a person I'm going to do something by a certain deadline and I'm capable of doing it and I don't, I've proven that I'm not a trustworthy person. And building trust with people is good because relationships are where, like, opportunities and money and manifestations a lot of time come to us through relationships with people. So I think conceptually, like, deadlines are important for that reason. But when you're talking to the universe, there's a few things. Number one of my friends recently said, and this has been sticking with me, that if you make a prayer in gratitude, hope, faith, and expectation, it goes to God. She also told me, and this really hit me hard, that if you're bargaining, and setting a deadline is a bargain, like, hey, I'll believe in it this far, but that's it. Then it's going to the underworld. And you know who we make those types of bargains with, where the people in the underworld, particularly like Lucifer, is going to say, okay, I'll give you what you want, but I'm going to take something away from you too. And we get kind of this monkey's paw type manifestation where it doesn't happen at all because the deadline comes, we get pissed off that the thing we want didn't happen, and we stop. What I think's interesting about that, one of the clients I was working with about 15 years ago, her goal was to lose 30 pounds, right? So I got her on this diet exercise program where she was forming the habits of sleeping right, eating right. She formed these amazing habits. I think she wanted to lose 30 pounds in like 60 days. She lost 28. She missed her deadline, right? She was madder at herself for not losing those extra 2 pounds. She was so mad at herself for that she couldn't even look at the fact that for 60 days she had formed habits which were going to be easier and are going to domino her success. Eventually, those 2 other pounds were going to come off. So I think the main thing to focus on is not when it's going to happen, is who are we becoming in the process? Because sometimes what God will do is say, okay, I'm going to give you that, but first I need you to grow up so that you're ready to see the responsibility so it doesn't harm you in some way. Because let's face it, if a person's like a heroin addict, we give them $1 million, we just killed them, right? That's an extreme example of how certain things, if they come into your life, if the universe knows you're not ready for them, it's going to go, okay, I'm going to put you through a few things that are going to cause you to grow into the person who can enjoy this and handle it. So that's why I say grow for the life you want, and all the things you want will come to you. But if you start putting these expectations, like it's got to happen this way, it's got to happen through this business, this person, it's got to happen by this deadline, I think that's where we really kill our manifestation power and the manifestation itself.
I feel like that was powerful. Even me, I'm like going in my head, I'm like, wow. How many times did I say that if I didn't make this amount of money, or if I didn't lose, or look a certain type of way, that nothing counted anymore?
Yeah.
And the overall goal most of the time is I want to feel more safe, or I want to feel everything for women. I think really comes down to feeling safe. When it comes to like losing weight or making more money or finding the ideal partner, all of that kind of returns to our feminine desire of safety. But that masculine energy of like all or nothing, pretty much conquer, action, I feel like that can actually hinder us a lot when it comes to manifestation. So how do you balance, or even how does the book say to balance inspired action versus taking the reins and like working towards your goals?
Well, I'll tell you about how, because this was a struggle for me until my last spiritual awakening. But what I think people will be relieved to find out is because he talks about action. The first 10 chapters are about thinking in a certain way, and the last 6 are about acting in a certain way. The thing that's relieving about this is he says, if you don't know how to get the thing you're trying to get, if it's not in your life, you can't possibly see a way that it's going to happen. Don't even think about how it's going to happen. Just stay fixed on the end result. And then whatever's in front of you, whatever work is in front of you, even if it's not the job you want to be in, even if it's not the relationship you want to be in, even if you're not living in the city you want to be in, show up as your 100% authentic self. Treat everybody who's in front of you like they're the most important in the world. Communicate with your energy, the energy of abundance and love and gratitude. And he says that if you do that with what you have, that the universe will hear you, and it'll take whatever energy you're putting into there. And this is called the law of compensation. And it'll use it to start dominoing all the little cause and effect that need to happen to bring the thing into your life. And it may happen in a perfectly serendipitous, tangential way that you absolutely could not have predicted. But if it's something you've never gotten before, it should happen in a way you couldn't predict because you didn't know how to get it. But the good thing about that is we typically overthink. We think, okay, I want to make $100,000 a month. And then we start doing math. It's like, okay, I get in this type of business. I make this many sales. Then I'm going to go on YouTube to see how to start this type of business. Or maybe this type of business won't work. I'll try this one over here. Maybe I need an e-commerce store. Maybe I need to start a coaching business. Maybe I need an MLM. Maybe I need to become a real estate broker. And that's when things start shutting down, is when we start thinking about how is it going to happen, where he says, whatever's in front of you, do your best. Give 100% to it. Don't overwork. Don't burn yourself out. Quit when it's time to quit. But give 100% to that and keep this and your heart and your gratitude focused on what you want, and the universe will take care of the rest.
So do you think there's like a perfect balance to that? Because when I think of masculine energy and feminine energy and how to incorporate that in my manifestations, there's been times in my life where I thought that I didn't put any effort into something. I just had a desire. I was like, that'd be kind of cool if it happened. Like, what if? Is one of my favorite things. Like, never ask why, just ask what if. And that didn't really have any inspired action. Versus there's things in my life that I'm like, I worked so hard. I did so much. I showed up. I couldn't have performed any better. How did you find that balance? Because it's not off of time. We already went based off of like a number amount of what's on the clock.
Yeah, there's two things there. Number one, I think the law of rhythm is part of that. And everyone has a different rhythm in terms of, because you have days, hours when you feel more productive and more driven and more focused and more determined, and you might stay up working for 18, 20 hours on something. But if you do that continuously, you're going to burn out. If you stay in that masculine energy, you'll fry your freaking nervous system. You'll dump out all your feel-good hormones like serotonin. You'll be depressed and not want to do anything but eat ice cream and watch Netflix for days. So I think it's more about listening to your internal rhythms and going, okay, I know I need to move into my relaxed feminine energy now, or I know I need to move into my masculine, and knowing how to listen there. But there's also the external world. There's seasons of sowing and there's seasons of reaping. And sometimes when something comes to you tangentially, it may just be something that is already was you were naturally attracted to, was naturally attracted to you, and you just let down some block or something. But I think it also could have to do with the seasons. Like a person who plants seeds in the ground back in the summer or spring or whenever it is that they do that, they come in the winter and they see this huge, bountiful, crop that they picked. They didn't do any of the work to create that in that season. They did it in another one. And who knows how far back or what type of work, or maybe it just was your personal growth or your identity, that it's just a thing that matches with you. And as soon as you ask for it, the universe is like, I was wondering when you were going to ask. But I think knowing those internal rhythms, when it's time to quit, when it's time to push forward, and also understanding that you can be in a season of sowing. Because people get frustrated in seasons of sowing. They're like, I'm doing everything I can. Nothing's happening. But maybe you're in a season of sowing, and the thing to do is to just keep your faith, your imagination going, keep your intention going, keep doing what you can with what's in front of you. And maybe sometime after you've been like, screw it, I've worked as hard as I can. I can't do anything else. I don't know how to make this happen. Boom, the season of reaping comes along, and you're back into that swing of abundance again.
So in that case, there's no wasted energy.
I think there's well, that's a good question. I think you can waste energy. So, depending on what you mean by waste, because I don't think the universe can waste energy. But I want to hear where you're going with this.
A diabolical mind is at play. So I'm going back to Newton's laws here. Can't be destroyed, can't be created, only transferred here. And I'm thinking of every goal I ever had, but didn't necessarily achieve. And how that inspired action. Because I really wanted those things at some point, right? Like, I really wanted that relationship, or I really wanted that career goal, or I really wanted that business partnership, whatever it may be. And I put in everything. And I felt like I was following, the breadcrumbs or the lollipops, whatever, Hansel and Gretel type of metaphor you want to put into it, of achieving those stepping stones. But I feel like that energy wasn't necessarily wasted, even though that actual goal or that dream didn't come to fruition. And I'm kind of relating back to those times where I haven't actually worked toward this and it magically happened. Like that energy couldn't have been wasted from the goals that I did have to buy for and work towards. Maybe the universe should transfer that over. And that goes into one thing we haven't really covered yet, but I feel like it's really important, is the answer from the universe is always yes. But the universe doesn't know the word no. And I don't know if you disagree with me on this, but if you don't think you're good enough or you're capable, the universe will say yes. You're not good enough. You're not capable. If you feel like something's out of reach or you're undeserving, like the universe will say yes, just as much as it will say yes towards a desire that you have to become more confident or to speak publicly on stage, which is kind of funny. That's the words that I would stumble over. But, even to accomplish something physical and lose weight or a new yoga pose, like the answer is always yes. So do you agree with that? It's something that I believe actually is in The Secret.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's going to be very hard for a lot of people to hear that because of how they interpret what constitutes a yes and what doesn't. Because sometimes we think, well, it's kind of like, this is going to sound weird, but when someone comes into a restaurant and they think they ordered one thing and they get something completely different than what they thought they'd order, like we do that with the universe sometimes. We're not aware of, this is why shadow work is so important. We're not aware of what other types of energy are going into that ask. For instance, there are people out there in the manifestation world who will tell you, set a deadline for when you want the thing by. And I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think to bargain with the universe based on a man-made concept of time is a good idea. But that person can totally believe that they asked for that. And then when the universe doesn't give it to them, they might say, well, they said no to me. They said yes. What the universe said yes to is that there are higher laws than your concept of time. And if you have to align your will with the universe, that's part of manifestation. And if you don't align your will with the universe, you're going to end up like, you're going to get a lesson, which I think the manifestation and the lesson can be the same thing. Because if it's saying, okay, you're asking for this thing, but you're asking wrong, you're not ready for it, you're not mature enough for this relationship, I'm going to put things in your life that give you the opportunity to become mature enough, but to grow into that person. So it's not that it's saying no, it's like, yes means, part of the yes means that you bring the right person to the table, because I'm not going to bring this person over here, this is the universe speaking, who I love dearly and want to be happy, into a relationship with you when you're not ready, because they're going to get hurt. So I think it is always a yes. It's just, it's a pain in the ass to accept that for everybody, I think, at some point.
So I want to tie in a little bit of our last episode here, because this is where I get super passionate when it comes to people and their relationships and finding their ideal partner and having a healthy relationship. Soulmates. So in the concept of the universe always says yes. Some ladies, some gentlemen have been praying for their soulmate forever. And they're like, I am ready. I've done the work, XYZ. And I feel that the universe will be like, yes, I will give you a soulmate. But the soulmate and the kind of secret or trick with manifestation here is the universe isn't necessarily listening to your words. Words mean very little versus your feelings. Like the feelings will always trump whatever language you're speaking in, whatever or ancient tongue you have. And it is adhering to the yes of your energy. So you will get a soulmate. And the soulmate will come through and you'll find out that this relationship isn't what you signed up for, or even the relationship will dissolve. And the soulmate was a perfect energetic match to you, a perfect yes at the time of the request. But as you grow and as you change and as you fine tune who you are from within, that soulmate will no longer align, which I feel is one way that kind of divorce happens for some people. They're like, we were madly in love. and then we grew apart, or the spark was no longer there, or something happened where somebody elevated and the other person dissolved. And the universe still said yes. They still gave you this partner. They still gave you this opportunity to love. But the yes was actually aligned to your energy and not necessarily what your words were. So I'm sticking with it. The universe always says yes, even when it's painful, even when you're angry, even when it's right in front of you and you're like, this is my dream girl and I want it. What's wrong? Like, the universe is giving you what you actually are feeling. And if you have something that's misaligned, then it's not going to click. And you're kind of blocking yourself in this way.
So this is, I know, is hard for a lot of people to hear what you just heard in the last 5 minutes, but what she's saying is profound, because I always tell people that meanings don't lie in words and language. They lie in the people speaking them. The meaning comes from us, because you can use 10 different words to describe one thing, and they're all in 10 different languages, but the energy of the thing, the essence of the thing doesn't change based on our language is kind of a conceptual invention of us. It's like time is. Time is a sort of language in itself. But I think when you say, I lost my train of thought for just a second there. Oh, your body actually gives off like 4 different types of energy. The first is in like radioactive, like I think it's infrared light body heat. Then you give off something called biophotons. Those don't go out very far. Like, a person has to be holding you or really close to you to feel those going out. You also have an electrical signal that comes out through your brain and nervous system. You can hear that when you're in a soundproof chamber. You can hear the hum of it. But you have a magnetic field that is emitted by your heart. And that magnetic field can reach anywhere from 2 to 3 feet out from you, or several feet out, depending on how synced up it is with the electrical signals coming from with the brain. And this is measurable. This is called heart-brain coherence. They have scientific instruments that can measure this and can measure how far out the field can reach. And there's a really good book on it called Wait, W-A-I-T, by Frank Partnoy. And he talks about how when 2 people are in heart coherence, they can be several feet away, and their biorhythms and the things they speak about and the way that their brains are firing can start to line up, even when they're not talking to one another. He's done it where they're just people sitting in a waiting room and measured it. So let's think about this. If you're asking for your soulmate, but you've been hurt by a bunch of people, let's say you've got a lot of anxiety around love and relationships, and it's causing like your heart and brain to be out of sync, because that's what a toxic relationship does. Your head's saying one thing, your heart's saying something else. If that's out of sync, it's like, okay, the universe is like, well, here's what I see. Here's the language I speak. I speak the language of energy and vibration. It's you little people down there that speak like the spoken language. So I think what you're saying is, if you say a yes in the universe's language, you get it, or you ask for a yes, you get a yes. You ask for a no, you get a no. But it's getting past this monkey chatter up here and realizing that our body is the instrument that we use to connect with other people and with the infinite.
I love it. So, quick recap. Time is a lie. Language is a lie. I want to kind of bring us home, and I love, this is Tesla now. I'm like all about these scientists in these 1900s. So I want to pick out one more thing that's from that book that you think is valuable, that we can kind of put on that chart with, like, here's time, debunk this, here's language, debunk this. What is one more thing that people have been misled on, don't fully conceptualize, or maybe have not like gained all the information that's needed from either your book here or inspirational story from the past that you think we can add to this list?
Good question. I'm going to take the thing from the book first, because there's a quote up there in the manifestation world that you hear almost all the experts say, and it's from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And he says there's a difference between wanting something and being ready to receive it. I think what he's saying there's a difference between you thinking you're asking for a yes from the universe and you actually asking for a yes, right? In the context of our conversation. But when a lot of the gurus talk about this, they'll say, well, what that really means is you really have to believe it. It's not about really believing it. It's about being aligned with it. alignment and authenticity is a higher vibration than love. I heard the other day that like can be measured, that it's like so much higher in the brain that it's exponentially higher. And so the universe speaks the language of authenticity. And so if you've got you live in the material world, you want something to manifest in the material world, that means you have to show up in the material world through actions. And if you're leaving that part out of it, here's what he says is going to happen. He says, by thought, you bring the thing to you, but by action, you receive it. And I know I've seen this happen to a lot of people where they're wishing for their soulmate, or they're looking for a certain type of person, or a certain salary, or a certain client. And somebody shows up. They had this serendipitous meeting with someone who they think is going to spend money with them, or is going to go on a date with them, or is going to whatever. The door is almost open. They're about to walk through it, and then it just slams shut at the last minute. And the big question is, well, why did that happen? It's like some big joke that the universe played on me. But what he's saying is that you've attracted it, but the receiving of it happens through action. That's what he talks about in this book. Mm-hmm. I want to hear your thoughts on that, and I've got something else I might share personally to answer the second part of that question.
Oh, I'm trying to put that into like, quote unquote, a soundbite, because I'm the type of person, maybe it's my Gemini showing, that I'm like, okay, I can remember time, I can remember language. Here, I almost want to use like the word illusion or readiness. Like, if you had to put that concept into like one quick word or one quick phrase, how would you label that?
If one word, I would say presence.
Presence.
Yeah, be 100% committed to giving everything because present really is the only thing that exists. The rest is just a conceptual imagination of something that happened. But that's the only time you can act in, the only time you can grow, and the only time you can become the person who's going to be good for that person you're trying to attract. So to me, presence means not going back and thinking, how's this thing going to happen? Is it going to happen by this deadline? And maybe such and such can help me make it happen. You're not present. You're up here in the monkey chat, speaking the language with the hairless apes down here on the material plane. But you're fully present when you're actually like whatever's in front of you, like this may not be the thing that I want to do, but I'm going to honor this thing. I'm going to be grateful for it through my actions, knowing that the universe hears me. And if it sees me working diligently and being present with what's in front of me, it's going to say, you know what, that person is prepared. They're responsible enough to receive this good thing that I've been wanting to bring into their life, just waiting for them to be ready. So I would say presence is the word.
I like it. I can remember that. Present. So with that, did you want to throw in that story real quick?
I actually forgot what the story was.
Ooh, you were present.
Well, I wasn't for a second there, but actually, I'll lead you the story about the law of compensation. I had a client a couple of years ago who had he was actually a math tutor, and he charged something like $250 an hour because he helped people pass like a really important college exam or something like that. And he was stuck. I can't remember where he was stuck, but I think he was less than six figures a year or something like that. And he wanted to get his income up to $30,000 or $40,000 a month, and he didn't know how to do it. Tried everything. He felt totally exhausted by like having tried everything and didn't know what to do next. And I told him about the law of compensation. I said, it doesn't matter what you do. Do it with all your heart. Do it with all your soul. Do it for just an hour a day while you're doing it. Put the intention out there of that thing coming back. And I said, here's what you've got to wait for. What's going to happen is wherever you're putting your energy, the thing is not going to come, the money, the clients, the opportunity is probably not going to come through that channel. It's going to come through some weird tangential way you didn't expect. And he got it. He was like, okay, I'm going to try it. It took maybe, I think, like 45 days of him just going on LinkedIn and prospecting every morning for 1 hour with gratitude and with intention. And all of a sudden, his Facebook and Google ads, which he hadn't touched, started just blowing up. And this guy starts making like over $100,000 a month, just selling these like flashcards and some like tutorial sets on how to pass this exam. Energy went here, manifestation came through here. It was remarkable.
It was still a yes.
It was a yes. It was just, you don't know how to get this yes. I do. Do whatever you can with what's in front of you. Be present. I'll take care of everything else.
Mm. It sounds like this would be a great opportunity to bring up just the clarity reset
Yeah.
that is required before. Because if you are in that monkey mind, or if the end of the year, so you're just strung out and you're like, we are entering into the holidays, and then we have to turn around and start the new year, and that can just put you down a rabbit hole at a time. So Clarity Reset is coming up in 2025. Now, I would love for someone to like work maybe with you one-to-one and to be able to clear out that mind, or even myself. But what is something we can kind of give people as homework to get them in the right frame of mind? I love homework. Most people don't, but I love it. And like, also, like, can you explain the benefit of kind of jumpstarting this process at the retreat?
I'll start with the jump starting. So if usually most people, the reason they can't get clear on their intention, be grateful, present, and they get stuck in worry, doubt, fear, anxiety, what ifs, all these other things, distractions, shiny object syndrome, that usually happens because there's so much noise that's been on the outside of you that you've internalized it. Now it's kind of ricocheting around there in your conscious mind, and you can't switch it off. And there are times when you have to get out of the environment that you're in, get somewhere where you can draw the boundaries necessary and create the space that you can finally shut all that crap off and not absorb any more from your environment, but instead absorb vibes of growth, love, abundance, presence, and be around people who are working towards the same goal. And then sit down with someone who has decades of experience on helping you to redefine and clarify your internal vision, especially if you're trying to sell your vision to someone else, whether it's your clients or the people who work for you or just the people in your life. You got to articulate it so clearly and so compellingly that people want to believe you. And you can have a great vision on the inside of you, but the message, it can get lost in translation if you don't have the right message. So what Clarity Reset does is helps you to shut down all this noise, define what type of life you really want, what your vision is, what your message is, what your identity and your beliefs about money, relationships, all those things are going to be, so that when you return home, you not only have a clear mind and body, but you have a new story to focus on, and to make that the clearest, loudest message in your life is how you master your life. And we're also going to equip you with tools to make sure you protect that space going forward, so you don't just fall back to where you were before, which I do have one thing I could tell people to prepare for Clarity Reset, which is what I do have people do as part of my 7-week mind body reset, is shut this thing off at 4 hours before you go to bed, and don't turn it on until 4 hours after you get it. Create yourself a 4-hour cushion. Yeah, anything that requires you to start responding to people and starting conversations and thinking in your monkey mind. And also the light coming from that causes the release of cortisol into your body, which is the stress hormone, which tells you it's not time to sleep, it's time to work. Yeah. So there's several things that shutting this off will do, but what you'll notice is you'll start sleeping better. You'll start thinking calmer, and your anxiety level will go down. You won't miss a phone after a while, but if you do it, shut it off 4 hours before you go to bed and have it not on for 4 hours after you get up. By the time you've done that for 30 days, like, you will be a completely different person in terms of your energy. And by the time you show up for Clarity Reset, you'll have a head start.
I like it. I'm going to save mine for the opening of the next episode.
Okay, cliffhanger. I like that.
Cliffhanger.
So
All right.
make sure you listen to the next episode to hear that. And we're also going to pick up on a really important topic that we covered in the past. And this has to do with, I said, money and opportunity moves through your relationships with people. This has to do with what impacts your relationships with it, impacts everything else. So you do not want to miss the next episode. You want to sign us off?
Ooh. Channeling all my energy. Stay conscious, Miami.
All right, that was much better.